It's going better on this side than on that side.
Yeah.
You look terrible. What happened?
I didn't get a lot of sleep last night.
Oh, okay. Allergies?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you
This
know,
is allergy, not COVID.
no. Father Brian and I were talking about how bad the allergies have been, and it really takes its toll on people who suffer with allergies. Many of our parishioners suffer with allergies, and so after this, you're going to go home, right? Good.
Yeah.
That's the only time she listens to the pastor. Okay.
That's not true.
Anyway, our
There's at least one other time I listen to you.
I know, I marked it in my calendar.
I'm looking through my book.
Our bishop has sent out a letter. We posted it on both our webpage. I don't know if we posted it in the bulletin yet. We might have to do that.
I
And
think it might be under the, did you know?
Oh, did you
Below,
know?
did you know?
Okay.
I think.
Encouraging people to begin praying the rosary each day as we approach October 7th. You know, October 7th is the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary. And we're praying for a powerful prayer. The Rosary is a powerful prayer, and it's a prayer that Catholics have always turned to during time of calamity, adversity, war, and strife, and illness. So I think we've got all those bases covered, and so we're beginning this Rosary campaign, and so we're encouraging people to first of all find your Rosary,
Dust it off.
dust it off. Now some of our people are pros,
They're wearing the beads down.
you know, and but for some of our new people, please go online. There is a beautiful I guess website called Praying the Rosary for Dummies,
Oh, really?
and it gives you the creed, the appropriate creed, the mysteries, and some reflections. And let's start praying the Rosary.
If you happen to come in the office, we have pamphlets also that we can give you.
Yes. And please remember, there are so many things to pray for. The pandemic is still with us, all right? People are still getting sick. People are still being admitted to the hospital, and people are dying. Maybe our numbers are low here, but in the rest of the country and in the rest of the world, they're very high. And so we need to pray at this time.
Especially for the college kids. Did you hear in Notre Dame had
Oh.
an outbreak? You know, all these kids are going back to college. The kids are getting ready to go back to school. So we need to pray especially for everybody in education, teachers, admins, kids.
And to be mindful. One of the things that upsets me in the college area is it wasn't so much the issue of the dorms or even the classrooms, it's the parties.
Oh, sure.
And even the parties. I mean, I was talking to a priest friend of mine whose nephew suffered with coronavirus. And where did he get it? From a graduation party
Yeah.
that was not socially distanced. Parents explain to the young.
Oh, because they listen.
Because I think we'll use Italian attention deficit therapy.
Okay, whack 'em with a shoe?
No, with a
Oh.
wooden spoon.
Okay,
Okay.
What did John Clayton?
They're living through
That's
a
right.
pandemic.
that's his
So
time.
things are not going to be the same. Trust me, I'm working with a lot of brides and grooms, and and they are very much aware that they're getting married during a pandemic, and it does change things. And when we don't recognize the need to change, we will suffer. And this young man had the virus very bad. Thanks be to God, he recovered.
Okay.
But he had the virus very bad. So do not believe young people are immune, because too many are being taken from us. And don't listen to what you hear. Oh, you got to listen to what you hear on YouTube. They're listening to us on YouTube.
Only listen to us on YouTube.
Only
I
us.
mean, I mean, and please, if I get one more expert from someplace out in Texas, I am going to start drinking scotch. I don't care what they're doing in Texas. Texas, the numbers are very high, all right? So tell the doctor who treated all her 300 patients without any problems, go back to the nursery. It is important that we protect ourselves. It's important that we keep social distance. It is important you wear a mask. And it's important you stay away from large crowds.
Yes. Okay, speaking of large crowds, our mass attendance is healthy, very healthy. And so with the addition of the 4:30 mass on Saturday and then the 10 o'clock with live stream and going out into the cars for the people who either couldn't get in because of numbers or because they want to stay in the car because they don't feel comfortable coming in, we are hoping to add an 8 o'clock mass to our Sunday schedule. We hope to do that in October. And I keep saying hope because first we need liturgical ministers. We need more lectors, Eucharistic ministers, ushers, people to run the PowerPoint, which just means clicking a button. It's very simple. You just follow along with the mass. What you hear happening is what you click. So we need people who are willing to do that at the 8. We still need people for the 4:30, and we will continue to need people for the 10 because some of our 10 o'clock people prefer the 8. So they've been coming to the 10 because that's what there was. So we are welcoming anybody who's healthy, who doesn't live with a compromised person, or who has not been exposed to the virus themselves. We welcome juniors and seniors in high school. So high school kids, if you feel like this is something you want to do, you're welcome to join any of those ministries. You'll get training for every one of them. We'll make sure that you're comfortable before we send you up, doing the thing.
And one of the reasons why we need especially ministers of Holy Communion is because we have chosen, because there were various options we could have done for the distribution of Holy Communion, but we have chosen to keep the distribution of Holy Communion at its appropriate place in the Mass, but we go to the people, and so it takes a lot longer. And so we try to have at least 4 ministers of Holy Communion at every Mass. At the 10, we have 6.
Or 7 if Father Brian is there.
Yes, because of the parking lot.
Yeah.
And so we do need those people willing to deepen their devotion to the Blessed Sacrament by becoming a minister of Holy Communion. And as Jen mentioned, you will receive training, and we are putting this out not only to our young adults and also our younger parishioners, but also to members of our youth group in junior and senior year in high school.
And even if you're not in the youth group, if you're a junior or senior, you're
Oh, yes, yes.
And one thing about the parking lot, for the past few weeks, I have had to step in front of cars who were trying to leave while our Eucharistic ministers were in the parking lot to remind them not to receive communion and then peel out. So I'm going to make that appeal one more time. Please do not leave the parking lot if you're staying in there to receive communion until our Eucharistic ministers are back in the building. Really, you should be staying till the final blessing, just as if you were in church. But at the very least, please do not leave while our Eucharistic ministers and ushers are in the parking lot. I'll step in front of your car.
And if anybody hits her, you got to answer to me.
Yeah.
And a few other people.
Put a dent on your hood.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll dent your hood.
But no, it's a matter of safety.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes I know you stopped a couple of individuals, and it's a zone. It's a zone. So, folks, maybe the pandemic, maybe all the strife we're experiencing is God's way of saying, wake up. Stop being in a zone where it's all about me. Mm-hmm. It's not all about us. First of all, it should be about God, and it should be about the other, which really brings us to the Holy Father.
Yes, it does. The Pope said yesterday, because of the readings from yesterday's Mass, reminded us that Jesus' preferential option for the poor is not a political issue, but is actually the gospel. And so we have a lot of arguments and we have a lot of politicizing particular moral and social justice issues that really are not political. They're simply what Jesus tells us to do. And, you know, Jesus tells us all the time. And I guess it was the first reading yesterday. We did Pray As You Go in the morning. It was, you know, about the how God's going to scatter the shepherds who are feeding off of the poor and the people who are growing rich and taking advantage of the poor. And that's a consistent message in the gospel, that Jesus is going to bring justice, and his justice is not going to be favoring the people who have all the stuff. God's justice favors the people who have not. And it's a reminder to us too that we're not supposed to, you know, mince, you know, about how people got to be in this situation. Jesus did not feed the 5,000, but check with everybody first to make sure that they had a job, that they were, you know, doing, you know, whatever we try to justify our lack of charity with. And Jesus, if there was sick, if there was a demon, if there was hunger, he fed them. And again, we are reminded in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 25 that the way we're judged is on how we respond to the material and spiritual needs of the other. It has nothing to do with how they got in their situation. It's all about, you see a need, you take care of it, period.
And you know, today there's so many people who will say, well, that's that newfangled theology. But if you check your catechism, you'll find like the corporal works of mercy and the spiritual works of mercy. Nowhere in those works of mercy does it ask for a file on the individual on how they ended up needing food, how they ended up being ignorant, how they ended up being thirsty, naked, or homeless.
Or
nowhere,
a stranger.
You know, it doesn't say that. And you're right. The stranger, the immigrant, the refugee. I mean, it is so important that we realize this is not a political platform. This is not socialism. This is not communism. This is the gospel.
It's our salvation. Jesus literally says, when you feed and care for these people, we're doing it to him, and we go to our eternal reward in heaven. And when we don't do that for other people, where do we wind up? Hell.
With the goats.
Our eternal punishment. It's our lives are staked on that.
And since there seems to be so many goats on TV, I really don't want to end up with them.
No.
So it's better to stay with the Lord. And this is going to call for a conversion. And you know, the Vatican Council called for a conversion. And I know for us cradle-born Catholics, a conversion is when someone who isn't Catholic becomes Catholic and we all applaud, okay? And when somebody who is Catholic becomes something else, we go poo-poo. But the bottom line is that conversion is also a turning back to God. It's not just changing where you go to church or how you worship. It's turning back to God. And we are called every day to convert to that process of conversion, that process of metanoia,
Yeah.
that calls us to turn back to God and to look at ourselves and to look at our world, where we are and how best we can serve our God.
I love that the term metanoia. It means literally to turn back around. And the church's teaching, and again, if you want to go to your St. Joseph's Catechism, you know, part of the definition of sin is that we turn our back on God. You know, it's turning away from God and not being face to face like God wants us to be in that embraced relationship, that intimate relationship that he offers us, which in our response to the love given to us, we are supposed to offer it to everybody else freely, unconditionally, the way that God offers us his love and his help. But when we turn our backs on God, that conversion is turning back toward God, turning back toward the face of God. And it's a beautiful image. It's accurate, but it's also like just a beautiful image of, you know, God remains there. Even when we turn our back, he doesn't, you know, wander off. He remains and waits for us to turn back to him, and is always ready there with an embrace for us to be reconciled. I love that.
So our Holy Father gives us a lot to think about, a lot to pray about. And I want to encourage everybody that if you're not there yet, that's all right. We need to constantly pray and struggle with it. Spirituality is an inner struggle with responding to the grace and love of God, which reminds us, and of course, the greatest commandment, love God and love your neighbor. And who's your neighbor?
Everybody.
Everyone. Which reminds us, we're doing some great segues here.
I don't know what this one is, but I can't wait.
That's a good one.
As we continue to engage in the reopening process, we have taken our time here at St. Robert's, and I take full responsibility for that decision, for the decisions that were made, and for the schedules that we have. And my prime purpose for the slow reopening is really to protect the people of God. On, I think it's September 14th, we will return to an 8 o'clock morning Mass. Now, I'm only doing one Mass Monday through Friday, so there will be a Mass now on Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. It will be in church. And on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we will live stream the 8 a.m. Mass. So we will start letting people know that. And the reason we're only going to one Mass is because in reality, we need to make sure we can clean our church and our facilities appropriately to safeguard the people. So we can't have things really back to back. And sad to say, we do have a few evenings that are really going to be very tight. But we are trying very hard to arrange it in a way where people will be safe.
And what you're referring to is like funerals that happen, after that. So.
Funerals. It's important to realize we're 4,800 families or households. So we have a lot of baptisms, we have a lot of funerals. We've been blessed with a number of weddings. They all need time in church. So the luxury of having two masses and then having a funeral and then having a wedding, and all you have to do is make sure the right candles are lit and make sure the paper products are all picked up. Well, that's gone. The new normal has to be sanitized. And it takes time to sanitize. It takes time for the spraying that we do between events to really affect and kill any germs, and not just the coronavirus, but any germs. So, folks, this is how it's going to be for quite a while. And so for those who are hoping for the 7 and for the 9 o'clock to be restored, well, it's going to be 8 o'clock, and
we split the difference.
And we're just going to have to, pray for that metanoia.
And again, the 12:30 is going to be going away. The 8 o'clock is going to replace that 12:30.
Yes.
And the Sunday 8 o'clock Mass too. We were looking to try to preserve our original Mass schedule, Sunday Mass schedule, as much as possible. But with the need to clean in between, 8:30 is just too close to 10. So we bumped it back to 8, and we have the 10. And then again, as we're able to, we'll add Masses. But we just need to make sure that we're going to have the attendance, but also that we have the ministers that we need in order to keep everything safe and flowing.
Anything else?
Yeah, there was one other thing. I don't remember what it was though.
Just to let you know, and we'll have information on it as we move forward, we are in the process of planning some community events that can be held safely and outdoors, as well as some other times that we can gather safely and continue our work. We are still collecting food.
That's what it was going to be, the food.
Okay, we're still collecting food. A shout out to Lenore, who did a food drive in Silver Mead, and the people there came through in flying colors. And thank you so much to all, both parishioners and neighbors in Silver Mead. And thank you, Lenore. So,
And
and
Margie said that we had 101 bags this week to bring to Open Door.
oh, wonderful, 101 bags,
Yeah.
that's excellent. Then also this past Saturday, we had a blessing bag packing day, or, assembly day. And we were able to make over 800 blessing bags, which again is a testimony to the generosity of the people of St. Robert's and our neighbors who support that. And so those things will continue, and it's a way of putting our faith into action.
And just one more reminder, I put it in the bulletin and I had it pinned to the top on Facebook, but it still seems to be happening. Please don't bring any perishables to the parish. I put something in the bulletin that if you have, if your garden is, A-okay, and you're producing a lot of veggies and you want to share some with Open Door, call Open Door, make an arrangement to go over there and drop them off there. If you put them in our gathering area, there's a lot of sun that comes in there and they're gonna rot and it's causing trouble. Also, don't bring any household items or clothes. The Catholic Charities bin is for clothes, and certainly not used items to be dropped off in the church.
Speaking of the Catholic Charities drop box, people are to be reminded that the only things that are supposed to be left there are in the bins themselves.
Inside.
And it's clothing and things of the sort. Not appliances, not the baby carriage that you can no longer use, no. And it is against the law to leave anything outside of those boxes. So please spread the word around. Just put it in the bin and not any other items that people are leaving around.
Yeah, but there's been an issue with that recently, so
Yeah.
please.
And we do call them periodically to remind them they have to come. In fact, early on, they commented that this is the best pickup
Oh, really?
in the area.
Oh, that's cool.
And so again, I'm gonna chalk it up to generosity, but I also know people are getting rid of stuff. And let's face it, our culture is the culture of stuff. I mean, where else do we have in the world, is there a whole industry, dedicated to storing stuff? I mean, we really need to reflect on that. To the people who own those storages, thank you, because it's helping. But folks, do you really need half the stuff you have in those storages? That's another thing to pray about.
Every time I see those storage places, all I think about is Hannibal Lecter. Silence of the Lambs. That is automatically where my brain goes.
No, I didn't see that movie.
You didn't?
No, I don't like movies where people eat people.
No, I know it's kind of a horror type movie, but it's really, really good. I don't like horror movies at all, but this one everybody should see. I
okay.
think. Anyway,
Yes.
not small
Great
children.
Disney movie.
Yeah, exactly. Not
You see
small
what
children.
happens when you drive by one of those storage places. At least when you drive by with Jack.
Right.
Okay, I think that's about it.
I
Okay.
think so.
God bless you. Thank you so very much to all the people who have been so generous in supporting us and the mission of the church. I want to thank you, and please know that we're here to continue the work of Christ in His church. God bless.
God bless.